Hello, everyone. My name is Paola Condemaita, and I'm a project coordinator at Journalism Fund Europe. Welcome to this online session that we have prepared for the Local Media for Democracy Grant Program. This webinar is the second one that we are organizing under the framework of the Local Media for Democracy project. So basically, the Local Media for Democracy is a project that will last 18 months. And the main aim of this grant program or this project is to support and provide financial support to local media that are located in the news deserts. Something also important that you need to know is that this project is co-funded by the European Union and launched by a consortium of partners that are the European Federation of Journalists, the Center for Media Pluralism and Media Freedom, International Media Support, and Journalism Fund Europe. Today, we will have 3 speakers from CMPF, IMS, and Journalism Fund. As a first speaker, we will have Sofia. Sofia is from CMPF, and Sofia Versa will explain a bit more about the understanding of the news deserts for the purpose of this project. If you have questions, we will have this time at the end of the 3 presentations, and we won't record these questions because those will stay with the ones that make the time today to be among us. So if you have questions, please save them for the end of the session. And Sofia, now we will start with you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Paola, and good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to virtually meet you. I'm Sofia Verta. I'm a research associate at the Center for Media Pluralism and Media Freedom at the European University Institute based in Florence. So as you might know, the project we are speaking about today is composed of 2 main sectors, let's say 2 main lines. And one of them is the media funding scheme that you will most probably be applying for. And the other one is a research task that CMPF is running about the risks for local and community media throughout Europe and the emergence or presence of news deserts in the European Union. So to this regard, I will now share my screen. So in this regard, I would start with some definitions, which are related exactly to the concept of local media and community media that we adopt for the scope of this research and also of the media funding scheme. So by local media, we mean media outlets that are operating at a subnational level, so a regional, province or town level. And they might be, of course, coming from different sectors, print, broadcasting, and online media outlets, and that are covering events that fall in a particularly local context and are relevant to a specific audience. At the same time, though, geography, excuse me, I'm not sure, maybe somebody has the microphone open. If it was a question, of course, feel free to interrupt me if needed, or I think we will have time for questions at the end. I was saying our understanding of what local media are is not only related to geography, though, but also to considerations about what in the literature is called the building of a sense of place and belonging. So belonging to a particular local community. And this meaning, central and key meaning of what is a community is even more important when considering what community media are. That must be seen exactly from a geosocial lens. So usually community media are also subnational outlets. They usually have a non-for-profit orientation, so they are based on alternative business models. They are accountable to their community and they are oriented to inclusiveness and interculturality. So very often they speak to particular minorities or marginalized communities. In general, local and community media do not have a univoc definition throughout the European Union. So their definition, also from a legal point of view, is very fragmented across Europe. But what is important to keep under consideration is that in both cases, they fulfill a special democratic role because they have a very close relationship with their audience. Studies show to us that usually trust is higher from the side of the audience towards these outlets because they are exactly closer to their sensibilities. And they cover topics that are shadowed sometimes by national media. So also in terms of disseminating political or socially relevant information, this is a very important role that they fulfill. Something that, of course, varies from country to country in their understanding of what local media are is the size of a country and the population of a country, because of course, what is the local media in Germany might be very different from what is the local media in smaller countries like Luxembourg or Cyprus or Malta. Both local and community media are living times of crisis, and we are trying currently to exactly focus on different dimensions to understand what are the challenges for local and community media nowadays in Europe. We adopt different points of perspective. One of them relates to market. So we acknowledge that local media and community media face decreasing revenues and decreasing circulation. Very often we witness a closure of local editorial offices, with the result that often local news and events are covered through so-called desk journalism, so editorial offices based in maybe bigger cities, and journalists then not having a very direct knowledge of the area they are covering. We can witness also relevant concentrations in terms of ownership of local media in particular areas. And also for local and community media, it's hard, even harder than for other types of media, to conduct audience studies, to understand what are the needs and requests and demands of their audience because of the little economic resources at their disposition. And also from a research point of view, audience research is very fragmented in terms of methods. So this is a hard task to assess the situation for these outlets from an audience side. Local and community media, as well as media in general, are facing, of course, a competition in the digital market with very large online platforms, especially for the dissemination of their content. But of course, the online sphere offered new spaces for these outlets. Let's think about all the digital natives that have been flourishing in the last years, also with a local or hyper-local focus or community-related focus. So in general, these outlets are increasingly relying on public subsidies when available. Not everywhere in Europe there are public subsidies targeting local and community media, and also are experimenting with alternative business models other than based on advertising, but of course, as you know, with crowdfunding or grants or donations. Another issue that is composing what we call crisis of local and community media, and then we actually juxtapose with the concept of desertification of information in Europe, is the political pressure that sometimes is put on these kind of outlets. So This is related directly, of course, with the concentration of ownership that we just mentioned, but also with the conflicts of interest in ownership, so direct or indirect ownership by politicians, the lack of fairness and transparency in the subsidies distribution when they are available. Also, studies outline that safety for local journalists is particularly at risk. This is because the threat is closer for local newsrooms or local journalists. The source of threat is closer, might be them powerful subjects like businessmen or even sometimes other citizens living in the same area. And at the same time, in cases, for example, of SLAPs, of strategic lawsuits against public participation, so of charges that aim at threatening and eventually lead to self-censorship local journalists, these journalists often have lower economic resources to counteract and engage in a trial. Also, their newsrooms are not able to support them. This is also due to sometimes the lower visibility that they have in the public opinion. And finally, so last but not least, some concerns relate to the capacity of these, capability of these outlets to be really inclusive in social terms. So as we saw, their particular capacity of engaging with the local communities is very important. And what the literature on community and local media tell us is that the concept of critical information needs is key. So basically the capacity of these outlets to meet the critical information needs of a community, of giving access to information that are crucial for the developing political opinion on the context where they live, but also on key subjects like health or the environment. This is the capacity of meeting these needs is at risk. This is, of course, directly related with the economic difficulties also of these newsrooms and journalists. But also with lower capacities of running, as we said, audience analytics to meet the audience expectations and to engage with the audience. And this is actually something that I believe the funding scheme proposed by this project is really trying to tackle. So all in all, what we can say is that when trying to propose a definition of what a news desert is in the European context, we do not only consider the existence or not of local and community media in a certain area, but we undertake a more holistic approach, considering that the mere existence of news outlets does not equate with the more diversified content being disseminated due to all these dimensions that we just went through. So to conclude, our definition of news desert is not only relying on an economic dimension, as the very early definitions proposed in the US were doing, but we add something to that that is not only related to demography, geography, reach, viability, but also to more social and politically related considerations. So at the end of the day, our definition of a news desert is that of a geographical or political area or a social community where it is very difficult or impossible to access reliable, sufficient, diverse, and independent information on a local, regional, and community level. So a news desert is an area where there are risks, considering all these dimensions for local and community media. In Europe, research on news deserts is still not well developed. As I said, the first definitions we can find in the scholarship come from the US. And we really feel the need to fill this gap and try to take into consideration the big diversity of Europe in terms of linguistic background, but also historic and social background. We are more specifically studying examples of studies developing, especially in northern countries like Finland, Sweden, the Netherlands. But lately also there are some more recent studies on Southeastern Europe, like on Portugal or on Slovakia. And I'm very happy to share with you more details on this study if you think it is needed for applying for this grant. We are currently running this research with the local researchers based in each European country, and the final report will be ready in the end of January 2024, but we will be publishing some middle reports in the meanwhile, so please stay tuned, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Sofia. Thank you for this clear explanation about what we mean by News Desert under the framework of the Local Media for Democracy project. And now we will talk about the media funding scheme. And this is managed by Journalism Fund, one of the consortium partners. And now I'm going to share with you my presentation, my screen. I hope you can see it. Okay, so what we do at Journalism Fund normally is advancing independent cross-border investigative journalism by connecting donors and journalists in order to promote democracy on the European continent. Nonetheless, this grant program, the Local Media for Democracy, is not focused on investigative journalism. It's quite different than the other grants that we offer. In this grant, we are aiming to inject 1.2 million financial support to local, regional, and community media. As Sofia just explained, we are aiming to help those media who are struggling to serve the public interest in places where access to information has significantly decreased. But who are able to apply for this grant? Mainly, we are now focusing on the media outlets or legal entities that are registered in one of the EU 27 countries. It could be, for example, a Ukrainian media outlet, but who is operating more than 1 year in Estonia, let's say, or in Lithuania. That could be possible, but they need to be registered in a EU 27 country. Something also important and something that we try to open in this grant program is to open this possibility to journalists to apply. Of course, you cannot apply alone. You need to have a team of journalists, of course, at least of 2 people applying for this grant. And I have to say that in the previous round of applications that was until the 25th of May, we didn't receive too many applications from teams of journalists. So perhaps this could be the opportunity in September, in the second round, you can send your application with your team of journalists. All of them need to be domiciled in the EU 27 countries as well. The total available amount is 600,000 per round. So that means that the applications that were sent for the first round, we are aiming to distribute this amount, 600,000, and we will have the same amount in the second round on the 28th of September. There you have the 2 deadlines. One has already passed in May, and the next one is in September. One aspect that we also try to address with this grant program is to try to choose those proposals who really entail the public, especially local citizens and communities. And that's the main aim of the project, to benefit these underserved audiences. What are the assessment criteria? You can find all this information on our website, but here I share it with you, but you can read it with more detail and with at your time or with your time at home. But basically, we are really trying to choose those projects that we see that they are feasible to start, but also that they are sustainable, that they have also a clear timeline, because that's important for us since the grant can only cover up to 7 months. So that's also important. But of course, something that we are also seeing that you need to really emphasize in the applications is the audience that you want to benefit with the project. Then what are the eligible costs for funding? All the costs that are related directly with the project can be included. But of course, we also understand that there are other costs that, for example, if you need to hire a social media manager for a specific project that you want to implement in your media outlet to increase your audience engagement, this is possible. You can add this kind of people. Also, you can also add other experts that you might need in these 7 months of the project. Let's say you need also computers for the purpose of the project, you can add them, but we have, of course, some specific restrictions about these depreciation costs that are for material that you want to buy for the project, and I will explain it later. But this is also something we are explaining in our website, and this is something you need to consider, especially, for example, if you have a donor that is also paying for something similar. We under this grant, we are not allowing people to have other donors funding the same project. So this is something also you need to be careful with it. We already found some issues with this, so we will try to choose the ones that we can in a way grant the complete project. Then, of course, the non-eligible costs for funding are those costs that are not directly attributed to the project. And also, we don't pay overhead costs. That means that we don't pay electricity, we don't pay the rent of the media outlet or of the places where the media outlet is working. We don't pay these kind of things. Of course, we don't pay meal costs. We don't pay food, beverages. And also recoverable VAT. But all this information, you can also find it on the template budget in the application form. What about the jury? The jury are 4 experienced European personalities. They have experience in local media and in the media business. They are anonymous. Only Journalism Fund knows who they are. And they are meeting more or less 2-3 weeks after each deadline. So the jury meeting, for example, for the deadline in May will happen at the end of this month, and more or less at the beginning of July, we will inform who are the ones that will be selected. The deadlines, once again, as a reminder, the next deadline and the last deadline will be on the 28th of September. So you are invited to apply for this one. And here you have just a screenshot of what is the online application form. It has 4 parts. The main one will be the second one, that is the project. It's the core of the application where you explain what is your project about. But then in the first part, we of course ask the general information of your legal entity, or if you are applying as a team of journalists, we also ask you this kind of information. And in the third part, we ask the budget. You need to use our budget template in order to apply, because otherwise we cannot really accept these kind of budgets. Then I would like now to focus on 3 questions that have been asked repetitively in the pre-application sessions we offered for the first round of applications. I have to tell you that we have more than 70 pre-application sessions. It was a very busy period, but I think it was good because I could meet individually with the people interested in the grant. And one of the problems I encounter is, for example, the depreciation cost. Here I prepare an example for you, especially for those who are thinking to include depreciation costs in the budget. For example, I'm including here a computer, and I'm doing this thinking that I'm living in Belgium, okay? So for example, I add the name of the supplier. It could be whichever store you would like to buy this asset. In this case, it's a computer. This is the cost excluding recoverable VAT. And then I add the yearly depreciation cost for computer equipment in Belgium, but it will be 33%, and it's added there. And if you use our budget template, you will have this formula already there, so you don't have to do any extra calculation. It will be there. But the yearly depreciation cost, of course, this is something that you need to use according to your country. For example, now with this grant, we discovered that in Croatia is not 33, is 50%, for example. So here I use the example of Belgium, and then it's 33, and then the amount that we can cover with the grant is 300 euros. Of course, we don't cover the whole cost of the computer, so that's something you need to please consider in the budget. Unfortunately, I saw that there is a lot of confusion regarding this. So this is an important aspect that I will recommend you to have a look before you apply. And if you have extra questions regarding this, you can, of course, ask for a meeting and we can discuss it further. Then we also have a question that has been asked throughout all the sessions, and it's about the areas of technical support. Sometimes many media outlets have confused the other grant programs that Journalism Fund offers, and they are applying for investigative stories for their media outlet. Well, this is not something we are covering. We are not covering, for example, investigation of human trafficking or investigation of, I don't know, crime in Rome. No, this is not something the grant can cover. What we are trying to do here is to really support with in those areas that are more technical for the media outlets. Here you have some examples that are included in the application form, and that also they are also included in the information about the grant before you apply. So there you can see the areas where you can more or less situate your project. So this is really important that you do, even before you start thinking of something, try to make fit your idea in any of these technical support areas, okay? Then following, another question that we received is the understanding of news desert. As Sofia just explained, I think she really gave a clear explanation about what we mean by news desert, but I think it's important that you understand these two perspectives that she explained. And before you apply, you also need to think of your audience. And we also found a problem that in many places they say they are news desert, and for example in some short talks with the jurors, they tell me, no, this is not a news desert. And since they are also part of the experts, they guide us about this. So you really need to justify why you think you are located in a news desert. Then I would like to share with you some useful links. If you haven't applied yet for this grant, you can have here the link for the online application form. You have to register first in this link, and then once you register in this link, you can create your account at grants.journalismfund.eu, and there you can create your account in order to access to the application form. And then once you log in, of course, you can access to the application form of the Local Media for Democracy grant, and then you can start, if you want, copy-pasting the questions to prepare a Word document, and then you can share it with me before the deadline. Ideally, I will be replying questions up to 2 weeks before the deadline in September, because after this time, I will have to be busy with the screening of applications. So please try to do it on time and not at the last minute. Otherwise, we cannot have enough time to give you the feedback that you deserve. And if, of course, once again, if you want to book a pre-application session with us, you can do it if you scan this QR code. So please don't hesitate to let me know if you have any further questions about the grant. We are there to help you. and there is my information. So I really hope this has been useful for you. But of course, if you have questions right now, save them for the end of the session. So now we will move with our third speaker, who is Irina Vinadava. She's working for International Media Support, who is also a consortium partner for this project. So Irina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paula. I hope you can hear me well. Great. I will start sharing my screen. Also, please let me know if you can see it. So hello once again. My name is Irina Vidanova, and I am a business viability advisor with International Media Support. So just very briefly, a few words about the International Media Support. We have more than 20 years of defending press freedom around the globe. It's our headquarters are based in Copenhagen, but there are also offices in and programs in different countries. So you can see what we are doing and where we are doing it. And you see that normally we don't work in European Union countries. So this is the first project that IMS will participate in to provide assistance in the to the media which are based in 27 EU member countries. But as Sophia explained brilliantly and in detail, media around the globe face unprecedented viability challenges, and therefore those challenges are actually quite global and common. And therefore, I believe that what we've got in our experience, we can apply to this project as well. While supporting good journalism and focusing on it, we also very much focused on business viability. And at IMS, we understand it as 6 pillars, where you can see them not just pillars, they are the circle. These are the areas where if you have it intact, then your media outlet is likely to be quite sustainable and viable. And that's what we are striking with technical support for this project. So as part of the local media for democracy, we are providing so-called technical support, and I will explain what it is and how it will work. So basically to help you with the project implementation and with achieving the objectives that you will set up for your projects, but also hope that this technical support can contribute to your longer term sustainability as a media organization. So the 6 pillars are the audience, data, user needs and impact, the content and product, the organization, staff and safety. Probably the focus will be less so on this for these projects, but still if there is a need for that, then we can also offer some assistance in there. Then distribution and technology, revenue and costs, which is like traditional understanding of business viability, but again, it's not the only component which makes the media outlets viable. And then management fundamentals, which includes from program project management to strategic vision and mission and many other things. So the technical support provided through this project is built around those pillars. As I said before, it's not only about revenues and business models, it's really a complex approach where every pillar is integrated and interconnected. Paola showed you a slide with a screenshot of one piece of the application process where you will have a menu of technical assistance area. There are 14 of them. And as Paola pointed out in the first round, what we saw often that the applicants were ticking everything because it seems like you need really all of this and all of it matters for you. But since it's quite a short-term project, and we don't have enough time to do it all, then it's very important to prioritize. Maybe here I'll just throw a little bit of my own experience in. I have more than 20 years of being a founder publisher and editor of the independent media in Belarus, where I'm coming from originally, but also in Central Eastern Europe. And I really, my consultancy comes from practical experience and challenges I faced as a publisher in this ever-changing environment. So I hope that I can also be useful as somebody who can just listen to your pains or needs and understanding them from this perspective. And on top of it, I have over 10 years of experience in media research and consultancy. So again, I hope this positions me well to be a good assistant to you in your needs. So once again, when you look, think about your what are your needs are for implementing your project ideas, then please try to prioritize what is needed. And that's how I would recommend to do it. Just again and again, keep in mind that this grant provides support for the projects focusing on news deserts and or targeting underserved audiences. So this is your departure point for any project. It's not for operations, it's just, it is really for projects. So please start thinking of what impact your project will have on whom and how. Then think about what do you need in terms of knowledge, capacity, skills, maybe very concrete tools or anything else for the project to succeed. What can you experiment with and learn from, given that it's again 7 months of implementation of the project. So it's very important to be agile, but also to think of experiments where you can learn fast and fail fast or succeed fast, so that you can build on your longer term sustainability. So also, how can this project increase your sustainability as a media organization on a longer term run, and not just for this project? And then again, be realistic. What is feasible to achieve with technical support in 9-12 months? So please, when you think about areas of technical support you might need, tailor it to your project. And think about how it can also help you as a media organization in a longer term. So we'll give you some ideas or examples of how to think about it. So if, for example, you design a project targeting specific audience, then some of the questions you want to ask yourself while working in the application is, do you know this audience? And can you identify it, and how? Do you know how this audience consume news and media? What are the consumption habits? Do you know how to reach this audience? And if so, how do you reach it? Do you have tools in place to reach this audience? How will you engage with the audience for this project? Will they be able to provide you feedback? Do you want this feedback? What you will do with impact assessment? Is your project or platform user-friendly or not? And then once you have a better understanding of who this audience is, what the needs are, where to find it, how to engage with it, then maybe potentially technical support needs would be the area of audience research methods, data analytics, distribution strategies, user engagement, and impact. Another example could be if you are developing a new media product for your existing audience, for example. It can be a thematic project or a new format or print publication or multimedia anything, or even app for the mobile phone, whatever you think about as a new product. Some of the questions you might want to ask yourself is, how will your audience know about it? Will they know how to use it? Will they be motivated to use it again and come back to you? How you retain your users for this new product? How will you find if, how you will fund this new product if you plan to continue it after the grant support finishes? So then for this task, the potential technical support can be in product development, in user experience, in marketing and branding. I know it's not a very popular theme among media and publishers and journalists, but this is something which became completely essential to the life of people, to each of us. So you might want to integrate some of the strategies of how to market your new product, how to brand it. And then also potentially maybe this new product has some potential for generating revenues. Then if you are the only media in the area or you target a specific audience, and if you disappear, then the area will be deserted. Then maybe you want to use this technical support to engage closer with your community, to generate trust and support for your media outlet, to experiment with new revenue streams, to focus on developing more sustainable business models. So this is also something that we could help with through this technical support mechanism. It is also said in the information about the grants that we're looking for innovative ideas and innovations in the media. Having said so, it doesn't mean that you need to invent something in the 7 months you have. It may be innovation for your media organization, something you haven't done before. It might be that you want to build some special tool that you've been thinking about, but it can be a product innovation, a content innovation, distribution innovation, management innovation, impact measurement, whatever you think of, but just try to think outside of the box and just be creative, but at the same time realistic and, well, estimate your own resources properly. One thing that we've seen in the first round that quite a few media suggested as activity organizing offline events to engage with the audience. And this is great in itself, but maybe the next step would be also to think of how you can use those events if you decide to organize some to learn more about your audience, to build your community. Maybe it's potentially, again, might generate some revenue streams for you. Maybe you might also want to think about partnerships with like cross-sectoral partnerships for the future or even for this project. So this is just like giving you some ideas of how you can think about the technical support as something which will help you with the project implementation without steering you away and your resources from the main tasks. So how this technical assistance will work, I will be the main focal point for those of you who will apply and get support through the funding. So there will be an individual session with me to specify your needs based on what will be in the applications, but make it more concrete. Then the common needs will be identified and clustered because we aim to support 30 media outlets across 27 countries. Well, not all of them, not all the countries, but there will be quite a few countries and many media outlets, and it will be quite a short period for implementation. So then after the first individual session and needs assessment, the common topics will be identified, common needs will be identified, and then we will have a plan of thematic group sessions, workshops, and trainings, which we will design and offer. And here I will be able to get some external help. IMS has a very extensive network of consultants and experts and practitioners in different countries, including in Europe. So if there is a specific request, for example, of using a certain tool, then I can also try to bring in somebody from developer of the tool to explain how to use it, or to have a consultant who is specialized in an area where my expertise is limited. For example, we will also have a gender advisor and gender and inclusivity advisor. And so you can also think of these issues when you are developing your applications. There will be somebody who will be able to guide you a little bit in this direction as well if needed. And then there will be another individual session at the end with me to assess the impact the project and technical assistance had on you as a media organization. So we are planning to organize about 25 group sessions, so we should be able to address most of the needs that will be mentioned by you or that you have. And then it's up to you to decide whether you want or don't want to participate in those group sessions, or in which ones are relevant for you. But this will be an offer for you to take or deny, but we hope that this can actually help without distracting you too much from your main project and what you want to do. One important notion is that we won't be able to do the job for you. For example, I or any other consultant will be able to work on your social media, like hands-on, be your social media manager. But if you bring somebody as part of your project, then of course our role will be in actually providing mentoring, training, capacity building, whatever else is needed for this person to be more as effective as possible for the project that you are implementing. So basically the technical support means capacity building and knowledge exchange network. Second part is also very important because we believe and we know that there will be a lot of knowledge in the cohort of the media who will be supported through this grant mechanism. And so hopefully there will be also a lot of peer exchange and knowledge sharing happening during the sessions, but also there will be offline event in the very end of the project. Finally, most of it will be happening online, so we will have to deal with technology every time we meet. But again, it's also for the purpose not to spend too much money on travel, but also to save time. And given the scope of the project, it would be very hard to do it all in person. So if you have any questions, we are now opening the floor for these questions, but also as Paula said, there will be online pre-application sessions, and I will try to attend some of them, not all of them. But if you do have a burning question about the technical support of how it will work, or what is more or less relevant for you, then please ask, and I will try to be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Irina. So now we will stop recording. So I would like to say goodbye to those ones who are following us via YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you next time.